is 5 telltale signs on why you need a new website. This will help you kind of have some takeaways when you look at your website, maybe when you're working with your agency to determine, number one, do I need to start to make changes to my website? Are there little things that I can do to improve my website today to get the results I'm looking for? Or do I really need to, focus on putting a plan in place to get a new website? Ultimately, the website should assist in you providing content for your guests to make the appropriate business decisions and bookings at your property. So a little bit of contact information. Again, my name is Lyle Zarmer. My email address and phone number are there. So feel free to jot those down and reach out to me directly if you have questions or if you would like some consulting as it relates to your website and website needs. I also want to highlight a couple educational resources that we have. We do blogs, webinars, resource guides, and we also offer free evaluations. You can get access to all of those on our website, so definitely recommend you doing so. A good resource guide that we have today as it fits our topic is a high converting website, definitive guide to a high converting website. This guide is going to more or less walk you through the ins and outs of what it takes to develop a new website, the things that you should be thinking about as you're purchasing or building a website. It's for you, it's for your website company or your marketing agency that you're working for. So definitely strongly recommend that you take a peek at that. As it relates to what we're going to be talking about today, so again, we're going to go over 5 telltale signs you need a new website. I will go ahead and let you know now that there are obviously more signs, or there's more ways in which you can identify when it's time to get a new website or to make changes to your existing website. I'm going to do my best to kind of narrow those down to 5 key items and then share some details with you. So obviously we'll look at whether or not you've outgrown it, the experience for mobile users, identifying the high bounce rates and what those look like. Website visitors aren't converting, so kind of understanding what it takes to help that conversion path, and then whether or not it's SEO friendly. And then once we kind of wrap up with those items, I'll give you real quick bullet points as to what you can do to prevent your website from growing old. So maybe you got a website within the last couple years and you just want to make sure you maintain it. Maybe you're at that stage where you really are trying to evaluate whether or not you need to make a website purchase. So as we continue to navigate through, the first thing I like to do is just do a quick poll question. And the idea here is just to kind of get an understanding of who I'm speaking to, who's on the session, so I can just kind of understand you guys a little bit more. So bear with me here. I'm going to launch a poll question, and then you guys will be able to actually answer the question on your end. So polling is in progress. You guys should have a couple of boxes up there for you to actually select your option. So the question here is, how long has it been since you've updated your website? 2 to 4 years, maybe it's within the year, over 5 years, or it's been too long to tell. So again, take some time there, and we'll give it a couple more seconds here to let some more feedback circle through. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and then I'll share the results with you guys here. So from what we're seeing here, it looks like it's a 50-50 split. So 50% of you have gotten your website within the year. So this presentation for you is really going to help you understand, did you make the appropriate purchase decision? Are there any other opportunities that you may have missed out on? Or maybe you got your website, towards the middle of last year, and it's been about a year or so, and now we're trying to see if there's any other technologies you could be taking advantage of. Are there any other things we could do to kind of beefing up your current website? For those of you who've had your website anywhere between that 2 to 4 range, you're definitely in that point to where you should be looking at your website, paying a little bit more attention to it. Technology changes every day, and I'm sure you guys know that. So keeping an understanding of where your website stands today, the different challenges that users face, and then what you need to do to make your website better is definitely something you should continue to evaluate. The good thing is you guys are all within a pretty good window as far as you may not need to make immediate adjustments today. So that's some good news. Obviously, when we go through the presentation, you'll know more whether or not that's true for you and your business here. So again, let's jump right into the top 5. So number 5 is you've outgrown it. So obviously here, this might mean that your business needs have changed. Maybe you've made some renovations to the property and your website's not speaking to it. That could be room renovations, bedspread. It can be adding some services to your offering, whether it's breakfast included. Maybe you've added a restaurant. Maybe you're starting to tailor and focus on weddings or meetings in the area. It's important that while internally you know who you're attracting or who you're going after and that you're making the appropriate changes at your property, but your website should also reflect that, because that is oftentimes the first encounter that your guest will have with your brand. So it's important that you definitely do that. When's the last time you've made updates to the images? That will also kind of let you know whether or not a website is necessary to reevaluate. A lot of times, at least in what we've seen, most people get new images when they get a new website. Those usually go hand in hand. So again, if it's been a while since you've made update changes, since you've hired a photographer, then it definitely might be worth you thinking about, okay, well, what else do I need to make as far as changes on my website are concerned? Maybe it's updating just the layout. So again, I alluded earlier that maybe you don't need to purchase a new website. Maybe you just need to continue to improve upon the current website that you have today. So adjusting the layouts, adjusting the call to actions, making sure the right things are above the fold, making sure you have supporting information that further carries that visitor through that buying cycle. Obviously, you want to make sure you're speaking to the right audience. So whether it's millennials, you maybe have an older group, maybe again you're working towards weddings or meetings, or maybe you're one of those destination locations to where you know all about the activities in the surrounding area and you really want to kind of build your business around that. So making sure you have your website set up for success will help you out there. What are you doing on your website to eliminate the friction during the booking process? Believe it or not, I've ran into cases where they don't have a booking engine, where they don't have a way for people to easily contact them. All of those are creating friction. They're creating opportunities for people to leave your website, go somewhere else where that information is easily and readily available to them. How flexible is it? From the standpoint of if you need to make changes, if you're one of those people who pays attention to your data from Google Analytics, or you pay attention to what your guests are saying, you may want to go in and enforce the changes based off of that feedback. Whether or not your website allows you to do that could determine is it time to reevaluate a new website or look into newer technologies for your current website. And then obviously, is it competitive? A good way to get a scan of that is just looking at your competition's website. So see what your competition is doing, how frequently are they making changes to their websites, updating the website, when was the last time they got a new website. Keep in mind that before people book, they're usually looking at 3 or 4 to 5 other sources comparing rates and room photos and descriptions. So making sure that your website presents well as they navigate to your competitors is extremely important. Another thing that we'll look at as it relates to your website here is, are you paying third party to update your website? So again, what type of control do you ultimately have over your website? We're in a day and age to where you as an owner, as an innkeeper, as a front desk representative, or even maybe the marketer, or the design guy that does some of the other work at the property, you should have ultimate control of your website. While you may hire a third-party company to do your marketing, to manage your SEO changes or a variety of different changes you have on the website, you again should be able to jump into your website when you need to make changes and not have to worry about someone else. So usually you know that you need a content management system website if you're constantly having to reach out to someone else to make changes to your website. The beautiful thing about a content management system is there's no technical training required, so you don't have to know all the techie, nerdy, geeky stuff from the standpoint of code. If you can send an email, if you can create attachments in a Word document or in an email, then you are right in par with what you need for managing a website if it's a content management system. So again, it's definitely something you should invest or look into. Another component here is, are you paying attention to Google Analytics? So that is probably one of the core things you could have on your website, if nothing else. Google Analytics is a free tracking tool which lets you know exactly how visitors are interacting with your brand once they hit your website. So important things you should be looking at is the number of sessions. You're going to want to be comparing these things, quarterly from the previous quarter. You're also going to want to look at these from a year-over-year standpoint. So what does the data look like this same time last year? Are you hitting the marks that you want? Are you seeing the improvements that you're looking for? The percent of new sessions is basically the new traffic to your website, which usually means your marketing to some level of degree is paying off. So whether you're doing SEO, online optimization, whether you have referral programs in place, whether you have people who are just walking by and finding your property, or maybe through a competitor, the new traffic will really let you know how well you are in reaching out and engaging with the new potential buyers at your property. Bounce rate is one of the tricky things to kind of look at. An ideal bounce rate is anywhere between 30 to 40%. There are some cases to where you may have a higher bounce rate and it may be acceptable. A lot of that will depend on the page that you have, the content that you have on the page, and whether or not you have calls to action that would drive them to take the next step. For example, blogs might be a scenario where you'll see higher bounce rates. People found your blog, you were promoting an event in the area, they clicked through, they read about the event in the area, and they left your website. So there's not always a bad sign, but it's definitely an indicator to see how well your content's doing. Are people getting what they're looking for when they make it to your website? Conversions is probably the most important thing you should be looking at. Conversions basically means how many people are taking your desired action. And that could be a variety of different things. The number one thing is obviously, are they booking at my property? Are they going to my booking engine? Are they booking a room? Other conversions, which are maybe softer entries into that sales process, or them buying or booking a room with you, is a contact form. Maybe they're looking to get more information about a special or a package that you have. So those can also be considered conversion points, because they're creating an action of requesting information from you, which is what you're tracking, whether or not they're interacting with what you want them to do. Learn more, book, download an itinerary guide for the area, or learn more about this rate or this package, so on and so forth. And then finally, the other thing you're going to want to look at is engagement. Obviously, this is just kind of taking a look at how long people are on your website, maybe how many pages they're visiting on your website. This will give you a good idea just as from the standpoint of your content and what pages may be working, what pages you may need to revisit from maybe a layout change. And then ultimately, if you kind of see that you're suffering across the board, then that probably means you again need to look at a new website. Since we're on the topic of Google Analytics, I do want to mention that, again, we have a resource guide for Google Analytics. So if you're not familiar with how it works or what you can do with it, download that guide. It will, again, walk you through everything you need to know about Google Analytics. The next thing that we're going to talk about here, again, is the poor experience for the mobile user. This is something that Google has been pushing for the last 5, 6, 7 years. They've slowly but surely continued to make the mobile experience more part of their day-to-day algorithm as it relates to how well you rank in your websites. So back in November of 2016 is when Google actually started testing their mobile first index. And basically what their plan in the next couple years is they're going to use the mobile version of your site to actually rank your website or the web pages, which will basically allow your website to show up higher in the search engine when people are on a mobile device. What I will add in here is if you don't have a separate mobile website, if it's not responsive, your desktop website will still work. You just may not be seen as favorably as other people who are shown and known through Google to have a trusted mobile-friendly experience. So again, having a responsive site or having a separate mobile website is extremely important. If you're missing any one of those two things, again, it might be time to take a peek at the website here. A couple other things as it relates to Google, and this is as recent as January this year. They're going to start making sure that if your website isn't showing to be mobile friendly, you're not going to rank as high as maybe your competitor or the people next door. So, that's extremely important for you because as you can see with the different metrics and the different stats at the bottom, 67% of hotel bookings were done on a mobile device in 2016. 72% of those bookings that came through on a mobile device happened within 48 hours of a check-in. So depending on your strategies, maybe areas that you're looking to improve as far as reservations throughout the week, throughout the day, whether or not you have a mobile website can really impact those midweek bookings to some extent here. And also, hotel searches on mobile devices have grown 137%. I don't know about you guys, but my cell phone is connected to my hip. I have everything I need there, from my personal email, my work email, obviously all my friends and family are in there, and then you have access to the internet. So whatever I need at any point in time, I can jump on there. So again, think about your guests and how they're navigating through that process. A lot of them may start off on a cell phone and then go back home and do the research on their computer, or maybe they started their research on their computer, signed up for a newsletter alert, and then they got an email to you from you. They just so happen to be on their cell phone, checking their email, sitting on the bus, and now they've made it to your website. So again, we want to make sure that transition is as smooth as possible when it comes to having a mobile website. And then, this is just kind of alluding to what would be the easiest thing for you to do to make sure you have a mobile-friendly presence, and that would be making sure you have a responsive website. So from the standpoint of having a responsive website, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to get a new website. So maybe you have a good website, it's been working for you, all of your numbers are right, conversion rates are where you want to be, but you're not tapping into your mobile audience like you should be. There are ways, and we're very good at it, is converting your current website into a responsive website. So we're not asking you to buy a new website. We're more or less saying, hey, we're going to take what you currently have, and we're going to make sure that this presents well on all of the various devices that exist out there, your tablets, medium-sized, small, your mobile devices, and then obviously the big desktop computers. So with the responsive website, it makes it easier for your guests to find your website and share your links. They don't have to worry about sharing a mobile link or a desktop link or what happens if they share the wrong link. It also helps Google's algorithm accurately assign indexing properties to the page. So again, knowing that you have one page, they can index it better rather than having to see a mobile page versus a desktop page and kind of favoring them, one over the other. It also requires less engineering time to maintain. So from the standpoint of maintenance, it's easier for you or the company you may hire to manage your website. Nowadays, or at least an old practice was you had two separate websites, your desktop and your mobile. With responsive, you have one, so it cut costs of having to manage two. A couple other things that you have out of there is it reduces the possibility of common mistakes that impact mobile sites. So again, depending on how it was developed, having a responsive website, just make sure everything is clean and consistent. So there isn't a discrepancy of what someone may see if they're on an iPhone versus on an Android. So you just want that consistency. And then finally, one of the bigger things is there's no redirection that's required as far as the device to be optimized. So a user doesn't have to go to your example.com domain and then be redirected to example.com/mobile website. Rather, it helps you from a branding standpoint not to have to brand multiple domains. So again, responsive is definitely the way to go. You don't necessarily have to buy a brand new website. You can definitely have that responsive code added to your current one if necessary. So let's take a quick break here and let's jump into another poll question. The question that I'll be presenting to you is, how often do you seek out professional feedback for your website? So again, let me go ahead and share that with you here. All right, so we'll give it some time. Once a year, every 2 to 3 years, when there's room in the budget or other. So again, if you could just take a moment here to kind of, leave your feedback here. I'd be interested to see how you guys navigate through managing your website. I know you guys are very busy and having to manage a variety of different things just with the property in itself. So understanding how you focus on your website, who focuses on your website is good to know, and maybe it will help you understand if you need more resources or if you should be leaning or reaching out to professionals for some feedback. All right, so looks like we've got just about everyone in here voting, and we'll go ahead and close the poll and we'll show some of the results. So 25% of you actually have you seek out professional help at least once a year. So that is a good thing. It's probably a good standard to have. I would recommend that you do that towards the end of the year, being November, December, so you could prepare for the next year. That's also probably a time in which you're reevaluating your budget to kind of see what wiggle room you have to allocate to your website or to your marketing. The other time that's a good time to do that is in the beginning of the year. So obviously January, February, March, within that first quarter, now that you kind of know how things are performing based off of last year, you have a real good understanding of your budget and you can kind of see some of the potential revenue that's coming through the property. Good time for you to take a peek at that. For those people who do it every 2 to 3 years, I'm going to assume that that's probably also the time that you're thinking about buying a new website every 2 to 3 years, which is perfectly fine. That's also a good time to evaluate your website because that's usually when the major technology shifts have happened to where it's really going to be of value for you to evaluate a new website. As far as the person who selected other or those people who selected other, if you can just in the question section maybe share some feedback as to maybe what that time frame is for you or maybe why you may go about it a different way. I'd be interested in just having the feedback for my knowledge to understand you guys a little bit more. So thanks again for that poll question here. We're going to jump into the next section here, which is high bounce rates. So again, the bounce rate is basically someone's made it to your website and they've only viewed a single page of your website and then they left. Again, there's a variety of different reasons in which they may do that, but this is a good indicator to determine when people make it to your website, well, what are they doing? Are they finding what they're looking for? Are they sitting on the page long enough? Are they navigating to other pages on my website to where now we can see that we're building some value, that they're buying into the brand, and that they're really kind of going through that buying cycle? Otherwise, if they're coming to your website and they're jumping off immediately, you should definitely take a peek at that. From the standpoint of having a high bounce rate, key pages to look at is your homepage. Your homepage is going to be hit at least 80% of the time as far as people's first interaction with you. If you have a high bounce rate on your homepage, then you definitely need to take a look at the layout, the usability, how people are navigating through, maybe the content and things like that, because those all can be impacting it. An ideal bounce rate is anywhere between 30 to 40%. You can see as low as 26. Again, it will kind of depend on the page of the website that we're talking about. So, going through your website, reviewing your Google Analytics and those bounce rates will really give you an idea of what you need to do, whether it's minor tweaks and adjustments on that current page, or again, if you're seeing high bounce rates across all of the pages, then again, let's take a bigger step back and really look at the website as a whole. So don't make it painful for your guests. Don't have slow to load web pages. We definitely want to make sure that people can access the page as soon as possible. Obviously, with a lot of people having mobile devices, it's that much more important for it to come up quickly because we're dealing with maybe smaller data as it relates to just the data to load a website on a mobile device. It's a mobile network, so it may not be as beefy as a Comcast wired connection and things like that. So pay attention to that. The self-sufficient content, so again, you just want to make sure that your content speaks to what they're looking for. You don't want to have misleading content or content that misrepresents your brand because that could impact your repeat guests as it relates to them, coming back and staying at your property. You don't want to have misleading title or meta tag description tags. The title tag and the description tag are the tags that show up on Google or Yahoo on the search engine listing before they make it to your website. So again, you don't want to mislead people to have them thinking that you offer a pet-friendly, child-friendly location because you're trying to drive as much traffic as you can, and then they make it to your website and they slowly find out that that's exactly what you do not want at your property, children or pets. So make sure that your description is spot on and it's really selling the value of your property or the uniqueness of it. Also, keep an eye on your website. I would get in the habit of going through your website and just clicking on all of the pages. Make sure all of the pages work. Make sure there's nothing that was blank. Make sure that there isn't any technical errors or glitches or issues. Put yourself in the shoes of your visitors and really go through that process and see how well it is for you. That will give you a real good indication of, do I need to make changes to my website or do I need to get a new website? And then obviously the bad or the obnoxious UX. So what we mean by that is, do you have a lot of pop-ups that may show up on the website before a user does anything? Do you have a lot of calls to action that are all over the place, and you're creating some confusion as to what they should be focused on as their main driving factor to move forward and purchase through you also. Taking a look at the bounce rates, again, is a good key indicator here to really kind of see if the page content matches up. Are people finding what they're looking for? Are they navigating to more than one page on my website? Real quick here, I just want to kind of show you guys, or just go over just the navigation or the header of the website. This is a lot of times why a website can have a high bounce rate. The header of the website is usually obviously above the fold. It's the first thing people see. It's also going to set the tone as it relates to what you do at your property different than someone else. And then you're also setting the tone as how you want them to navigate through that website to ensure that they're taking the appropriate actions you want as it relates to booking with you, learning more about your property, so on and so forth. So lead with your money pages. So depending on your property, you're either selling rooms, rates, and units. Maybe weddings are important to you and that's your only focus. Maybe it's meetings. Maybe you're really big on those business groups and getting those people on board. Make sure your navigation is set up to kind of fall in line with what your demographic is. Your top link should be clickable. Make sure that they go somewhere. Maybe it's usually an overview page that lets them kind of get a broad understanding of what that section's about, and then additional links or images to kind of carry them through. Some of the things that you shouldn't do is don't start with the home page. It's just bad. When people come to your website, the last thing you want them to do is click on the home page link and then they just refresh and go nowhere. That navigation, as it relates to the home page link, with the way technology has been shifted, the users now understand that your logo is your home page link. So regardless of what page they're on, they click on your logo and they're able to get directly to your home page. Don't have too many links. Don't overwhelm people. Don't give them too many things to do that aren't impactful or aren't meaningful to your business. So definitely take a peek at that. And then don't link to a mobile website. That just goes back to if you have a link that says visit my mobile website, you shouldn't. You should have one website that's responsive, that meets everyone's needs. There shouldn't be a version or a variation of two different sites for your property. And then finally here, we're going to look at just content being king. This is something that's extremely important. Obviously, content is the messaging on your website. It can be from the actual text, the descriptions of your rooms. It can be your imagery, your photos, so making sure you have professional photography, high-quality images. It can also be videos. So what videos do you have, whether it's a virtual tour of the room, maybe it's different attractions in the area. So content is extremely important in delivering to search engines exactly what the website's about, making sure it pairs up to what you're doing from a marketing standpoint, the terms that you're targeting, the keywords that you're targeting. And then ultimately, it's another way in which you're engaging with your audience. So making sure that you have good, solid content in place, a variety of different content pieces to give a good mixture and a healthy balance to, again, keep people engaged and working through your website to obviously book with you. Number 2, your website visitors aren't converting. So this basically means is they're not taking the desired action that you want. Again, that desired action can be a variety of different things depending on your business. You may want them to book with you online. You may want them to call you instead. You may want them to download something as far as a guide. You never know what it is, but if you know that they're not converting, if you know you're getting the traffic numbers that you want to see, if you know that the bounce rates are where they should be, they're not too high, they're not too low, but you're not seeing people convert, you definitely want to take a peek at that. It could be minor tweaks to the website, or again, it can be a bigger, looming thing where you need to revisit the entire website. So a conversion rate of 2% or higher is ideal from what we've seen in our segment, in our industry here, that being hospitality. If you're exceeding that and you're doing well above that, kudos to you. Don't change a thing, just do more of it so you can get more conversions. For those of you who are kind of tailoring off or not necessarily meeting that, definitely make sure that you have good call to actions in place, that they're extremely, I'd say basic but detailed from the standpoint of they know exactly what the intent behind that action is. Make sure you have the appropriate color code and color schemes in place. Believe it or not, color plays a big role into how people interact with things. Obviously, red means stop, don't do anything, green means go. So some of those colors might make it easier for people to understand what the intent behind that button or that action was. And then obviously location is important as it relates to where these call to actions go to really get those people to convert or take the next step. So placement is important, location, color obviously is important, and then obviously the text that you have in here. So really quick, and you guys probably know what a good call to action is, but I wanted to show you just a variety of different call to actions that are out there. You have your book now, a smaller size. You have that big orange reserve now button, so it's extremely in your face. What that might mean to me is maybe those people, that demographic might be a little bit older, so where we really want to make sure these buttons are really prominent on the website and in your face. There are also things like sign up for our special email promotions, so where those people aren't ready to book with you today, but they're very much interested in your property. You should be finding out ways to get their email address so you can market to them in the future. So again, if your current website doesn't support email signups or newsletter signups, that's something easy for you to add. If you're getting a new website, that should be a standard that comes with the website. You ultimately get to pick and choose when you send out an email, so you don't have to send out emails, but that is a soft sell, if you will, of your property. Those people are interested, but they're not ready to commit. So definitely play around with that. The other one that I wanted to make a point of is you'll see in the top right-hand side here, there's a booking online. It's just a text link. Those are also important for those people who like to read the descriptions and really go through that. Integrating those call to actions into your content really helps people navigate through, take the appropriate actions when that content, meets what they're looking for. So take a peek at your website, see if your call to actions are bold, do they stand out, are they on the right pages? If you offer room detail pages and you don't have a book now button, you're missing the opportunity. If you have a rooms listing page and you don't have a learn more button or a book online button, you're missing out on opportunities for you to push them to the next steps into booking at your property. Another thing that is definitely worthwhile as it relates to helping your conversions is the specials and the packages. This also may help with your bounce rates and things like that. If they get to your home page and they don't see that you offer any type of specials or packages or discounts or anything like that, those people can frequently and often just jump off. A lot of people may be looking for deals, looking for specials and how they're comparing things. So having a specials or a package page is a good way to, number one, build out your website, making sure Google can find you in a variety of different ways, but it's also another way to keep people enticed with your property, with your brand. So making sure you have good packages, great descriptions, good imagery is all a part of making sure you're giving them more of a reason to convert, to book with you, to learn more about your property. So there's a variety of different do's and different don'ts that you guys can kind of see on here. Ultimately, it's just about making sure that you do it to an extent. Again, you control the messaging, you control the pricing. If you have the right kind of website that gives you the control, you can add specials to your website. You can remove them from your website. You can even automate them so that if you know what your specials will be throughout the year, load them in your website, set the date in which they start, set the date in which they expire, and let your website manage all of that for you. So talk about being able to focus on other things than just your website. Having a website that is user-friendly, that you can control, that you can log into will definitely help you manage your business and take it to the next level. The most important thing that is going to be preventing people from converting with you is usually going to be your lack of having a booking engine or a booking process to allow them to really take it to the next level. Again, with that, you want to have a seamless transition. A lot of times you might have, and we've seen it, where the booking engine looks different than the website, which immediately causes pause for concern for the guest. They're not sure if they're at the same website. They're not sure if all of a sudden the policies and the terms and the rooms and the rates and what I looked at is the same. Am I where I'm supposed to be? So you want to make sure you have a seamless transition from the website into the booking engine, that they look the same. You want to make sure that they can see the availability based on the units or the searches that they date, so or that they're looking for. So again, this is all about making sure you have a more or less an online booking engine. A part of that has to do with just the amount of bookings that take place in the year. Some data that we had said, I believe it was 2016, that there was 148.3 million travel bookings made on the internet. So just imagine the potential that you have in having an online booking engine. You never want to necessarily isolate or prevent people from booking with you. Hopefully your booking engine has some flexibility to where if you're not interested in maybe selling units online, at least people can get a see the availability and kind of know what dates there are so they can reach out to you. Definitely worth having the ability to, again, to upsell packages and point of sale items to, again, entice them to stay with you. Maybe your property has a unique package and a room offering which would allow them to convert with you where your competitor does not. So those things definitely help with the conversions of your website. Ultimately, we all know we want to get them into the booking engine. We want to get them to book and stay at your property. Another poll question here, and this is the last one, guys, here, and this is just me trying to get, again, an understanding of how you guys can keep track of your website, who you're working with, and things like that. The poll question that I'll be putting up for you now is, how many of you have internet marketing strategies? So give me 1 second here. We'll load that up. Internet marketing is basically your online presence, your website, your SEO, your PPC, your AdWords. It can be your directories, third-party affiliations that you work with, where they're directing people to your website. The internet marketing strategy is extremely important for you guys because it helps you make sure that you're moving in the direction that you want to long-term, big picture-wise. At the same time, it does present challenges because it does require some attention. It requires you to be on top of things, reporting, and reviewing your reporting, reviewing your user data, and then obviously being able to use that data to make the appropriate changes on the website. So looks like we've got just about everybody on here voting, so we will go ahead and close this off and share the results, and we'll talk a little bit about it here. Okay, so out of all of you, it looks like the majority of you guys are doing it yourself. So for me, what that usually probably means is either A, you don't have it in the budget to hire a marketing agency, or maybe B, you don't really see the value in hiring a marketing agency because it's hard to see the return, or you haven't had success with the previous agency that you work with. For those people who do it yourself, I commend you for that, because obviously you got a lot of other things that you need to focus on as well. I also encourage you folks to always reach out to someone, a professional, about some consulting. It doesn't mean that you have to take their feedback. It doesn't mean that you have to purchase their solution, but at least you know that what you're doing on your day-to-day stuff at home is falling in line with what the industry is and what they're doing for you. For those people who've hired professional help, great job. That hopefully is alleviating some stress for you so you can focus on your guests and allow your agency to focus on driving traffic, making sure your website is converting those bookers those visitors to bookers, and all of those different things in between. For those of you who say no as it relates to not having an internet marketing strategy, I definitely strongly recommend it. It can be very basic as just making sure that your goal is to increase conversions, or maybe your goal is to drive more traffic. So even at a smaller scale, understanding what your strategy is from what you want to do online will really help you make sure that you have the appropriate resources and that you're meeting those year-end goals that you're trying to hit. I also encourage those people who said no, go to our website. We have free resource guides of how to do internet marketing, Google Analytics, reservation software as well. So those people who like to do things themselves, again, continue to educate yourself, make sure you have the appropriate resources for you so that you can navigate through that experience here. So the reason I wanted to ask that up is because it does kind of play a role into what we're talking about today as it relates to your website. And your website, as far as the fifth thing that we look at, that would be a telltale sign of if you need a new website, is it SEO friendly? If you don't have a marketing strategy in place, if you are not hiring a marketing company, or if you're not doing it yourself, at a bare minimum, we need to make sure that your website has the basics it needs to be as successful as it can without having those other strategies in place. So what does that mean a little bit here? It means that how well are your URLs constructed? Are your URLs friendly for the end user? Are they crawlable for Google? I've ran into a lot of cases in the last 2 years to where people are coming from Wix websites. They're coming from, I've seen it sometimes with booking suite websites, to where the URLs aren't friendly, or where you don't have control over your URL, so they're all automatically generated. If you don't have control over your URLs, if they're not user-friendly, if Google can't crawl your URLs, then they're missing out on your website, and your guests are missing out on potential pages of your website. So your URL should be extremely clean. They should more or less tell you exactly what that web page is about. They should be limited in length. So I believe Google, if I recall, they can crawl up to 5 segments in your URL. The further out in the URL they go, the less likely they are to pick up on that data. So again, making sure that you have short and concise URLs, rooms, and then the name of the room would be a good example. And then if you do have ability to control your URLs, or maybe you work with the firm that automatically generates those URLs on your website, make sure they're hyphens rather than underscores. It makes it very difficult for people to copy and paste the URL and share it. Makes it difficult for people to just see that underscore in the URL when they're visiting the page. For those people who want to maybe understand whether or not Google can see all of the pages on your website, a very simple trick you can do is go to google.com and then type in site : the name of your domain, and it will tell you about how many pages that they can find on your website. Right now for RezStream, they're able to pick up on 613 pages of our site. So that means our URLs are friendly, that Google can crawl them, that they can find them. This also means that Google has indexed my URL, so they know about my website, so that's also a good thing for you there. And then below that, you can see just some examples of bad URLs versus good URLs. URLs with numbers in them are misleading because numbers don't necessarily tell the user what they are. There's this other URL format known as hash bangs, which basically have the hash symbol in the URL. Google cannot read anything after the hash symbol. So if you have any type of hash marks in your URL, Google is only picking up on one page, and it's your main home page, and they're giving all the credit to that one page. So definitely worth you guys revisiting and taking a peek at. Another thing as it relates to the SEO components here, this kind of goes back to the website here. Is your website SEO friendly? Also speaks to what type of control, what type of access do you have in managing your website. You, with your website, should be able to modify title tags, meta description tags, keyword tags, on-page content, and anything else you want. For those people who are do-it-yourselfers with your marketing strategy, it's extremely important that your website allows you to edit those things. If your website is automatically generating title tags for you, description tags, and keywords, you need to take a step back and see about how you can gain control over those items. The title tags, again, are extremely important. The metadata description tags are also important. Again, those are the two items that are on your search engine listing page that a visitor will see before they jump into your website. So again, if you have a website that automatically generates those, an example of a bad representation of that would be your homepage. You have a homepage on your website. The name of your homepage is homepage. Your title tag defaults to homepage. Your description of your website says, welcome to such and such property located here. We offer A, B, C, D. That is your description tag. So while it may default and grab those things from the website for you, you not being able to modify those based off of results. If those default tags that are being implemented aren't driving traffic, or they are driving traffic but you're not seeing the conversions that you're supposed to, then you're going to want to mix those up, play around with those, and adjust those different areas. So again, I strongly recommend those people who do it yourself as it relates to managing a website, double check, do you have control to modify your title tags, your description tags, to make sure that you're making the changes as the data recommends when you're reviewing your analytics. One other thing here is with the website, and this again, if you've gotten a new website within the last year, I am challenging you guys to then go and see if your website includes these particular items, as they are some of the newer technologies that Google is more or less starting to push as they continue to change their algorithms. So Schema, or also known as structured data, this is additional markup that goes on your website, which helps the different search engines have a consistent library to pull information out about your website. So it will help prevent people going from Google and getting one snippet of information, going to Bing and getting something else, and then Yahoo, a different set of descriptions, whether the case may be. With Schema, it's one library with basically an additional code that's coded on your website that tells the search engine about your website. So the schema can be used to tell the search engine that you offer rooms. It can tell the search engine what the rates are. It can tell the search engine that you have availability. If you're one of those people who are big on ratings and reviews, the schema will actually help you visually show that you have a 4 out of 5 star rating at the property, rather than just saying, hey, I have a review page. You'll be able to have a nice little description that will say, hey, 4 out of 5. It will actually show the star ratings as well. Open Graph for Facebook, those people who have social media strategies or find themselves managing their social media account, a lot of times you be on your Facebook page and you're promoting something on your website, and you grab the URL from your website and you paste it into Facebook. Open Graph allows Facebook to grab, again, the important data from that URL that you're pulling to plop it into the Facebook posting that you're putting up. So again, it's a very consistent way of making sure you're delivering the important information to your end users, whether it's the search engines with Schema or through Facebook advertising or listings, if you will, through Facebook. Other things is HTTPS versus HTTP, which is basically you securing your website. Google, that's another thing that they're adding to their algorithm. They want to know that your website is safe and secure for the end user. If your website shows up as HTTPS, they see that as a trusted website, so therefore they're going to rank you a little bit higher than others. The algorithm right now isn't superseding from the standpoint of secure websites above non-secure websites, but what Google often does is they will tell you, hey, this is something that's important. They'll remind you and say, hey, this is important, and then in a year they're going to say, hey, we've changed our algorithm, and now we're going to favor those people who have a secure website above those who don't. So that is something that you should recommend. Having a secure website is usually an annual type of subscription that you would have to, have as a part of the website as a fee to make sure your website is secure. AMP, which are accelerated mobile pages. This is another method or another coding method, if you will, for mobile websites to improve that performance or the usability for mobile devices. So Google's created a new language here that basically says, here's a new format. This will ensure that your website on a mobile device is fast, it's lightweight, so it's not going to take a lot of time to load, and that it can, be, again, somewhat seen as in a favorable position rather than just a standard page. AMP websites or AMP web pages, those are newer trends. So if you are thinking about taking advantage of that, you are setting yourself ahead of the curve. So definitely a good thing there. And then the other things here, and this is something that's very generic, but just to review widgets or forms, more or less just third-party things. Again, you can easily add these things to your existing website if you have the flexibility or control, or it may be, again, limitations of the environment, the website, to where you can't and where you may need to get a new website here. So the whole thing there is just don't miss out on the important new technology. Make sure you're getting the professional feedback on your website. Whether or not you take it or not is completely up to you, but make sure you're at least paying attention to things on your website quarterly and on an annual basis. So that wraps up the 5 themes as it relates to some real quick, synopsis of what you can look for as it relates to whether or not you should evaluate a new website here. What I want to do now real quick is just kind of show you a couple quick things you can do to prevent your website from growing old. So again, for those people who got a new website and you just want to make sure you keep it up to date, for those people who are going to get a new website and you're looking to make sure you maintain it, or maybe you're right in the middle to where you need to make some changes to your website, but you want maybe more proof in the pudding before you do. So it's easier than you think. First things I recommend is make sure you have Google Analytics and Google Webmaster Tools installed. Both of those are free tools provided by Google. If you do not have them and you need help getting them set up, please reach out to me. I will do that for you at no cost. I want to make sure that you guys know exactly how people are interacting with your website. Google Webmaster Tools, think of that as your website going in to see the doctor every day and getting checkups. Google Webmaster Tool will check your website for errors, for usability issues, for duplicate content, for 404 errors, whatever the case may be. It will let you know the health of your website. It will provide feedback and recommendations on things you need to do to change your website. So again, if you got a new website, you have Google Analytics, you don't have Google Webmaster Tools, please add that today. The other thing you should do is create some automated reports to keep you engaged. Obviously, you guys have a lot of different things that you have to juggle between your guests, maintaining the property, and then making sure you're driving traffic and whatnot. Automated reports on a monthly or quarterly basis will make sure that you're engaged and you're paying attention to the website so that you can make the changes sooner rather than later. It's always better that you make the change before you get guests calling you, emailing you. When they check in, all they're doing is sharing feedback about how difficult it is to work on your website. Again, your data will let you know. Your conversion rates, your bounce rates, those different things will let you know when you need to make changes. Also, pay attention to what your competition is doing. I know you guys do this enough, but stay on top of it. If your competition is starting to re-engage into new technologies, new tools, that's another way in which they're trying to acquire more bookings. So again, it's something you should look at. If your competition is getting a new website, if they're getting new photography, something you need to pay attention to because you're going to be competing, you're going to be fighting against them getting business over you. Also, you want to make sure you get frequent website analysis. So at a minimum, do it once a year. In other cases there, if you get the automated reports and maybe you don't know what to do with the data that you see, send it over to us, reach out to your marketing agency and say, hey, I'm seeing this data in my Google Analytics. I don't know how to address it, but I know I need to take some action here. And then that kind of leads into number 5. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Speaking for RezStream, I would much rather you call me and I spend an hour on the phone to walk you through something and you know that you have it and you're solid with it, rather than you kind of, having to spend extra hours at home researching things, digging through things to kind of find it out. We have free business analysis, the free resource guides. We blog 4 to 5 times a month, so we are very much about providing the education you need so you can be self-sufficient, and then also know that you can lean on us if you do want us to handle those things for you. And then lastly, again, I'll just share my contact information with you guys. And then I do want to let you know that I will be doing a webinar next month. My webinar next month will be 3 ways that you can engage with your guests before they leave your website. So a real quick, brief description of what that will look like. I'm going to cover some technology here. One of them is known as Opt-in Monster, which basically allows you to promote or push content pieces to users as they're navigating through your website. The other thing that we'll look at is cart abandonment. So what happens when somebody goes to your website, they take all of the desired actions that you want, but maybe they get hung up in the buying cycle. Their kids are needing something, they have to step away to go run an errand. With cart abandonment, you can reach out to them, you can re-engage them with emails to make sure that they're staying top of mind for you. So I encourage all of you guys to sign up for that webinar next month. It is June 22nd. It's on a Thursday, same time, with your guests before they leave your website. So with that, I want to thank you all for your time. I'm going to look right now to see if we have any questions in here that I can address or go over with you guys. Other than that, I'll let you get back to your day. And I don't see any questions in here, so hopefully, again, you found this very informative. You have some things you can take away as it relates to either improving your website or identifying if you need to make a change to your website. Again, we have the educational resources online, and we do offer free consulting. So please reach out if you have any questions that are unique to your business and how you want to navigate through making the changes. Again, we'll get you guys an email with a copy of the presentation slides and a recording within about 24 hours, so you'll have that. Again, thank you guys for attending. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.